Welcome, 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 all my beautiful people in this wonderful, wondrous universe full of limitless possibilities that we are all capable of. And we can only channel our thoughts, channel our emotions, and channel our energies in one singular direction for a sustained period of time. Then that eventuality will definitely manifest itself here in this life. My name is Robert Prash, and we are here on Creating Greatness. We have a very special episode today. That's why we're on the Zoom. That's right. We got the video and the audio for my man, Tony Spencer from the Examine Life podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm doing real good.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to have you on. You had me on your show a while ago, and I'll never forget a few things about that show. A, don't let Tony's appearance fool you. And I don't mean anything negative by that. I just mean he looks kind of like me, a blue collar guy.
Yeah.
This guy thinks deep, and his perspectives are very unique. And I remember that about him. I remember appreciating him for being his absolute unique self. Overall, that's what we promote here on Creating Greatness podcast. You hear me talking about Carl Jung and the undiscovered self, is that the most powerful gift you can give to this universe is being your truest, rawest, organic self. And we were talking about that on the Wisdom app today as well, man. And thanks, Tony, for being you and being here. And one thing about Creating Greatness that I really feel transmits strongly is the analyzation of the mind and the analyzation of the body. Trying to pick up on the mind and body's cues and really get to know ourselves in order to level up our lives and improve the quality of our lives. And Tony is a testament to that theory. And hey, man, I just want to let you let loose now. Talk about it. Anything that you're comfortable with talking about it. How you grew up, how you think that you developed, some of the things that caused you, problems in your life. And then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I wanted to say, everybody has a limited amount of time during their day. And I notice from listening to you, and you're a guy that plans, you don't waste a lot of time. You're on your game. So it's the same with how we spend our time with what we listen to and consume. So I only listen to like two shows, and yours is a third one that I'll listen to. So I wanted to say, when getting our interview, I learned some stuff. So I guess I've been thinking a lot about this. I'll start with this. I don't know if I'll be a very good guest. I feel
already, man. Just the fact that you said that.
I feel confident about my because my only goal is to have a conversation when I do my podcast and to learn and to really try to get to know that person. So I feel pretty confident in that. But I don't know. There's a lot of things brewing when I think about being a guest because there's expectations of the host, there's expectations of the listeners. So I'm not a person who I've interviewed. I had 35 episodes now, and I've been, when I was years ago, I used to be a pastor, and I used to go in the jails, and I used to do one-on-ones with guys, and so I've talked to people on some real deep levels that was about a decade I did that for, and I found that a lot of people that you talk to have, I don't know, they got a system. They have an idea of how they're going to run their life and what they're doing, and they got the answers, you know what I mean? And I find it fascinating, and I'm not judging them, but I don't have the answers. I don't have an answer. I'm on an eternal quest for more answers. And the longer I do this, the more people I talk to, the more I realize that I don't have some permanent answer. That was kind of when I started this, my idea was try to understand how people based their beliefs, basically. At the time I had studied Christian theology for years. I used to be a pastor. I had studied a lot of philosophy, a lot of different religions. And, that was coming from this idea that, okay, so we understand truth and reality, right and wrong as an objective truth. Like God creates right and wrong. God creates truth. God creates reality. So there's an objective truth out there that can be understood. And then I was fascinated on some level of trying to figure out how people who didn't believe in a creator God, how they understood right and wrong, how they understood truth, how they understood reality, you know? And because I'm like, well, do you just make it up as you go? So then, I'm investigating that on my own, and I'm the majority of people, because I talked to a lot of my friends, the people I knew first, and it was either family members or friends who were like, nah, I don't think about that much. I don't know. I just live my life, and that's how they were happy with it. And then there was a lot of people that I knew from my schooling or, the church, who had a lot of Christian answers for everything. They kind of knew the theology, they knew the Christian world, man. So when I started to interview people on this podcast, groups out of there from different areas, they were basically, the idea was, well, there is no objective truth necessarily. I make up my own truth. Not in I'm not criticizing them, but basically I choose the meaning of my life. I choose the purpose of my life. I choose what I believe to, and that's whatever works for me is what's true. And, that's what I've mainly run into. There seems to be these two sides. There's a people who believe in objective truth, an objective reality created by some kind of God, whatever religion you are in, or there's people who are saying, well, I'm not sure of all that, but I choose what works for me. So that I seem to be stuck between those two. And we were talking about, you were talking about Jordan Peterson the last time I listened to you. And, he's very interesting because him and a lot of the other thinkers, because they wouldn't be what you'd call atheists, but they're scientists, they're evolutionists, they're scientific about their understanding. And they look at scripture or religion, all religions, they look at them as symbolic. Carl Jung would say, this collective consciousness of man, that we've evolved these. Religion is an abstract idea, how to express these abstract thoughts and ideas that we have. So God and all the archetypes and all these stories in the scriptures are not literal stories, they're symbolic. So that's how they see religion, and they see it's very valuable, and I can see that point of view. So in the process of doing this, all these interviews and talking to all these people, and getting away from my former kind of life that I had been in as far as being a pastor and being steeped in that theology, for quite a few years, I've been kind of moving to a different direction. And so I just realized that, I don't have the answers. And as I'm interviewing people, I marvel at they seem so sure about how they're running and what they're living. My wife always says, baby, they're just not going to reveal their deepest soul to you, that their doubts and because I'm a heart on your sleeve kind of guy. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I struggle. And so I thought about, that's how what's really changed with me is just, I've been trying to be happy with not having to know. And you're going to hear, I've been studying a lot of Zen Buddhism, and not any kind of spiritual aspect of Buddhism, except for the truths that are involved in the dogma. I mean, there's some things that are very true. Years ago, I definitely, when I heard that life, one of the main truths is that there is suffering in life, and that suffering is caused by desiring. I was like, yes, 100%. I used to always, life is, when you grasp and you want things and you have to have this and you have to have that, it can cause a lot of suffering. Whatever you want has some kind of power over you. And so I always resonated with that. And, the idea of Zen is kind of, from what I understand so far, with studying Alan Watts, I just got done with his book, The Way of Zen, is this mindset of letting go, not grasping, not having to have things, not to having to control everything around you, but rather trying to live in the moment and realize the universality of being part. I'm the universe. Universe is me. I'm part. You and me are one. We're alike. We're not separate. Trying to get rid of the ego and the I and everything, and I don't know. I've been studying that. I've been trying to really look at the world in a different way. That's what I've been digging right now. And of course, I love, I've been really getting into psychology, trying to understand the subconscious, looking at my dreams. So, I'm like, well, most of the guests that come on, they all have an answer, man. They got the answers. They have the steps. They know what they're doing, and I respect that, but I'm not that dude. I don't know.
Well, first off, I will applaud you for admitting that fact and then kind of analyzing it, because I think that is leading you to your truth.
Yeah.
Secondarily, I'll say those people that come on your show and seem to know all the answers, they may not. And here goes the thing with that. And this is my opinion. People that are confident like that, they're operating on faith.
Right.
They're operating on faith that indecision is going to lead to more problems than decision. So they're going ahead and making decisions. And that's part of living life, man. We got to, me to be successful, I got to be assertive in my decisions. And I make wrong decisions all the time. But I operate on the faith that, I got to make a decision. I got to make a move, because me sitting here stagnant is going to cause more problems than a mistake. So it may be more of like a confidence issue than thinking that they know all the answers. Just saying, hey, this is my truth right now, and I'm moving forward with it. And secondarily, or maybe third, I've lost how many points I've added up on you. I think psychology is the way. I applaud you for that as well. I mean, when I began my self-improvement journey, it started where you're at now. I didn't read Alan Watts, but I started studying Buddhism. And due to the truths in the dogma, like you're saying, it connected with me. And I didn't become a Buddhist or practice Buddhism, but I did start meditating and viewing things certain ways and taking certain lessons from the Buddhist philosophy. And then I moved into self-discipline and personal training and all these things to try to level up, and reading a lot of books on spirituality and how to connect with the source and all that, to try to bring some dynamic or some just dynamism into my life, to bring some vibrancy, to bring something bigger than me. I'm searching, like you were saying, and that searching is going to lead to some finding. And through that, I found Carl Jung. I've been saying it wrong, I guess. I've been saying Carl Jung for the longest, but everyone knows what I mean. I read the man's work, and I really found a lot of dots being connected. Okay. Because when you find truth in any form, it has very consistent similarities. Like now I'm reading Jordan Peterson, the 12 Rules of Life, an antidote to chaos. And within those lines, I'm making so many connections to the spiritual books I read. I'm making connections to the Buddhist texts I've read, and the yoga, the ancient yoga scriptures that I've been able to find. And I'm saying all truth really it's found throughout everything. But when you find it in psychology and science, you go, that's it. And then it also begins to help you wrap your head around other people's perspective. I was talking about Dr. Phil, man. And here goes another little journey into the mind, is like, why would I never listen to a guy like Dr. Phil? I'm going to tell you, same reason why I never listened to Jordan Peterson, because they look like, nerdy guys. Can I just be real here? And I'm speaking from my mind perspective of being judgmental, which I know in my soul is wrong. But these are things that the mind does. And I don't care who you are, unless you're enlightened, your mind judges people immediately. And then you have to catch yourself. I think that's the step. And that's where I'm at. So I go, no, listen to what this guy's saying. And that's why I was found to Jordan Peterson. But it's funny, I didn't really listen to Jordan Peterson until he started talking about being dangerous. I go, oh, yeah, this is my kind of guy. But then listening to all the intellectualism, he wrote me in it and brought me to further truth. Oh, yeah. But what Dr. Phil was saying, he was talking about CIA and FBI and their negotiators, hostage negotiators. And what he was saying was that no hostage taker will ever release those hostages until they feel like they were heard and understood, and that they know that, as the the entity, whether it be FBI, CIA, whatever, why they did it in the first place. So number one overall is not, hey, I need a boat, I need a helicopter, I need money. They want to be heard and they want to be understood. And they want you to understand why. Now, we as individuals, we live here in a time where nobody wants to understand why. They don't care about that. People right now have heavily opposing views and they can't wrap their head around it. It's outlandish to them. Now, this causes us to revolve in this circle of like, well, you're stupid, you're crazy, you know, you're not thinking straight. But if we just for 1 second try to understand why our fellow humans feel the way that they do, we can move forward in negotiating with people with opposing views, making negotiations on sensitive issues, and creating a better world like for each other, man, where we're just walking out the door into a more loving, understanding place. And people say, oh, well, you don't have to agree with everyone, but apparently in today's world you do, or you get ostracized.
Sure.
You know, so we can just begin to understand why people feel the way they do, regardless of how we feel about it. It will at least make progress and take us out of that never ending circle. And that's why I believe like psychology, now that I've found it, and I've read books, like I was saying, Buddhism, finance, spirituality, all these things. And now that I'm getting in psychology, I go, hey, this is it, man. It's really a channel to deeper understanding of yourself and others.
Well, two things I was thinking about when you were saying that. One was, what I found is that I've kind of embraced the idea that I'm an extreme person, okay? Whatever I've always done had to be extreme, had to be all the way 100%, 110%, or I didn't want nothing of it. So if I was talking to somebody this week about it, if I'm thinking of an idea or a religion or a movement or philosophy, I'll study it and I'll look at it. And if I can't embrace every part of it, there's a part of me that says, nah, it's gone. I can't, it's got to be so I spent a lot of years looking for this ultimate truth. That's the idea, that you can understand this ultimate truth. And I was never happy with having things left out there that I didn't understand. But I'm starting to see that I can embrace truths that maybe they're not objective truths. Maybe they're not created by some being that laid them down at the foundation of the universe. But if they're a truth that works for me and helps me to go through my life and get to my goals and live a peaceful, more happy, joyful, maybe be a better person, more loving person, then I can embrace that truth. It's okay. I don't got to tear it apart and get it down to the essence, and it doesn't have to make sense for everybody for all time. And as long as it works for me, and when I find that truth has run its limit and I need to expand it, then I can do that. That's one. Two, Peterson mentioned that conflict resolution you were just talking about with terrorists or kidnappers. He was talking about a psychologist who had a practice that him and his wife put into practice. And the practice is this, is that me and you are having a disagreement or argument. Before I'm able to say, you make your point, before I'm able to say my side, I have to reiterate what you just said. And I have to present it in the very best light to your satisfaction, till you say, okay, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And then I can make my point. And that is so brilliant if you could get someone to do that. Because basically I have to explain the point you just said to me. So then I understood. And then also I don't, how sometimes you'll argue with somebody and you'll say half of what they said, or you'll put it in a bad light, just because you're mad, it's an argument. And you'll set up like a straw man, and something that's weak. So I thought that was great. But I wanted to recommend, if you have time, and I'm sure you got to fit something in, but I really feel these would be worth it. On Peterson's YouTube channel, he has his college lectures. There's like 30. There's some on the personality types, archetypes, and there's one on religious symbolism. Man, talk about a wealth of free education. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, man. Send me the link.
I will. And also, something I realized about myself today, or just recently, examining myself, is, I'm studying Alan Watts and I'm reading his book, and I'm really digging a lot of the stuff I'm learning in Zen. But there's a part of me, I don't even understand it, that says, okay, I got to look up. So I start Googling, what do people in the East that, grew up in that culture think about Westerners practicing Zen? And what do people think about Alan Watts and his Zen? And Ken West, and so I start creating all these avenues into, basically, I think I was trying to, I don't know. It's like so of course, what I was looking up created a lot of negative. Oh, Alan Watts was a drunk. He died at 60, so what does he know? Which that did pop in my head. I'm like, okay, you talk the talk. Did you walk the walk? And can I tell, and then West, a lot of people that grew up with Buddhism and Zen, they think, the people that were criticizing Westerners thinking about it. And so there's a part of me that for like 2 days got a little, because I'm prone to depression. I fall into it very easily. And part of me was really bummed out because I was digging it and I was using it. But then because people had cut it down, and even I looked it up, I was like, oh, okay, now there's all these negative things about it. And I realized that, there's a part of me that wants to have the affirmation of the masses. There's always been that part of me, even when I was in Christianity, that when I was surrounded by people who believe what I believe, then I was bolstered, but if I was out on my own, then did I really believe it? Or was I trying to fit in with the group? I'm very high in agreeableness. So I like to make people happy and I like to fit in, even if it's not necessarily, if I wouldn't have embraced it by myself. So I realized that there's a part of me that is afraid to stand on his own and say, this works for me and I like it because I like it and I don't give a shit what you say about it. There's a part of me that's I want to grow in that area. And, that I realized it about myself. Me and my wife were watching Netflix. We were watching this cult. We those are interesting about cults, people that get into cults and stuff. Very interesting. And we watched one years ago. We've watched a lot of them. There was one where some guru from India came back. He built his own city out in the Midwest, and all these people it's this whole big thing. Well, this one was about, it was about the Hale-Bopp comet. Remember when the Heaven's Gate cult?
Yeah, vaguely.
Very fascinating. And, I'm fascinated how the people in there fell for that or went into it. I mean, a lot of them got castrated themselves, and because that was part of their beliefs, like no male, female. And then they all committed suicide, like 40 of them almost, because they thought it was an alien ship coming in on this comet. So I'm looking at all these guys, and they looked sincere, really did. Even the leaders looked sincere. And I thought to myself, so I said to my wife, I said, hey, honey, do you think I would ever join a cult? You think I would fall? She goes, yeah, you'd be in a cult. She goes, if it wasn't for me, if you were on your own, you'd join a cult. And I said, yeah, there's a part of me, I know that's true about myself, that I've studied the personality trait, the personality theory, whether you buy that or not, but a lot of it makes some sense to me, personality archetypes. And I realized it about myself, which I think, forewarned is forearmed, forearmed, you know that about yourself. So now you know. So I know that there's a part of me who is very influenced by and wanting to fit in with the group and wanting to feel affirmed by everyone else. And when I have to stand on my own and make decisions about certain beliefs, and it's only me making it, it becomes tougher. Mm-hmm. And I realized that, further with the looking for criticism of what I was looking at, trying to shoot it down. I just interviewed a guy he was a pastor for about 10 years, and he got out of the church and his whole faith kind of changed, but he had taken parts of Christianity that he agreed with and parts he didn't. And he was like starting his own kind of group. And he's written all these books, and not real nice guy and very knowledgeable. He understood the fundamental understanding. He wasn't unknowledgeable. But anyways, I thought about it. Him and his wife are very happy and they seem to be thriving. And I realized that I'm not at a point where I could do that. Like if either I have to understand and embrace it all, I wouldn't be comfortable taking parts out and then going on. I got to put it aside. And that's what I ended up doing. Because if I can't accept it all, then I don't know. I don't know how that is, why I'm like that, but I am.
Well, I mean, that's you knowing yourself. And that's what you were just talking about. And knowing yourself, I talk about this all the time in Creating Greatness, helps you be able to maneuver in the world a little better. Because you, like you said, you know that about yourself, and you do certain things to avoid falling into those traps. Like, me, I'm also extreme, and I have a firm belief of setting my playing field, setting my battlefield. I don't keep sweets or sugary snacks in my home. I don't keep alcohol here. Certain things like that, setting myself up for success. If it's here, I might fail. I know that about myself. So I set myself up to win. And I also do that in life, like avoiding certain things or certain people, because, I'm trying to set myself up for victory, not defeat. Why would I place all these things in my path that I know I'm susceptible to, or place myself in an environment, where I'm susceptible to making lower than best self decisions? Sure. But moving forward, what you say, that's important. Knowing yourself, setting the conditions for victory in your life, by tailoring your life to your particular ways. And then you can always improve on those ways. But in the beginning, it's like, let's just alleviate all those problems and take that out of the equation. Then when I build myself up, I could be anywhere, doing anyone with anything, or doing anything with anyone. And I'm not susceptible to those things because I walk higher. I stand higher now because I've built myself up in that way. Next, I want to talk, because you said so much, dude. Like, I probably forgot some things that I want to mention, but it's great. You saying that you weren't being a good guest was totally false. You're like one of the best guests I ever had, because you're just letting loose. You're just vibing, man. You're just talking. You're analyzing the mind. You're analyzing other people. That's what we do, man. And you said some important things, and I want to touch on the things that I did not forget about. One was truth is circumstantial. You were saying, when I hear a truth, I got to latch onto it with everything within me. I have to believe every part so that I can attach everything within me to that truth. I would say to that, truth is circumstantial. Truth is circumstantial depending on the time, the place, the person. And then you can take, if you feel comfortable, everyone's different. For me, I take what I can out of whatever I listen to. And I always hold the viewpoint of whoever's speaking, whatever I feel about them or what they're saying. If I'm in a spot to listen, I listen and I search for one thing that I can pull from it. Because every human on this planet can be our teacher. I talked about it on the podcast last week. Like, I learn from my kids every day. I'm not always looking at millionaires and billionaires trying to learn what they're doing. Most of them are doing things ass backwards. We all know that. Some of the most horrible atrocities in the world happen right there in Los Angeles. So I'm definitely not, following celebrities and billionaires and wondering what they're doing. So what I'm doing is looking at every person. And what's the one thing that they do better than me and I can learn from them? So truth is circumstantial, and I don't have to embody everything that I'm hearing. But if I could pull one thing out of what you're saying and learn from it and take it with me to carry forth with me through this day, whether it just bring me a momentary happiness or joy or an everlasting, truth that I take with me, I search for that. And it is circumstantial because you said it yourself. Then you evolve, Pat. Then you get to a point where that's no longer your truth, man. And that is the needle on the head, man. That's the needle on the head for you, for me, and everyone in the world to stop embracing ideas and then thinking that they're lifelong ideas, man. We're here to evolve. We're here to grow. So if you're still embracing the same philosophies that you were when you're 18, man, hey, you got some work to do. Yeah. You got some work to do.
Yeah. Well, what gives you that confidence to be that? And I'm not saying you shouldn't be. I admire that. I would aspire to be like that. And that's what I'm kind of working on. But what I want to know is, what gives you that confidence to be that judge, to say that is a truth, or I can take and choose from these truths what I want. There's an initial confidence in who you are that lets you be that judge. Whereas some people don't have that. Or myself, I'm questioning myself. Where do you think you got that initial is it always been there, or was it I mean, I don't, it's hard to imagine you being different than what you are because, you know, you're like a, you know, force of nature. You're a personality, man. And I was wondering, is that always been there? Like, you're okay. I can choose right between, I know what's right. I know what's wrong. I know what works for me. I can pick and choose. Where's that confidence come from?
Hey, Tony, you're my guest, man. I'm
Yeah.
interviewing you, man.
But I want to know, man.
Don't be asking me questions. Hey, let
Uh,
me tell you something, Tone. I want to talk on. I'm glad you asked that question, man. And
yeah,
I- and, and I believe we kind of touched it on the Examine Life podcast, man. If you have not checked this podcast out, check it out. I mean, it goes in depth. It's no shallow conversations on that show. And we had a very great conversation on that show. And part of the confidence springs from rock bottom.
yeah,
You know, rock bottom, man. You know, when you hit a place of absolute misery, pain, and not wanting to go on, man, and just praying to God, just end it, man, because
yeah.
I'm done. I've had enough of this life. I don't want it.
Mm.
When you've been there and you facilitate through certain practices to become the man that I am today,
Yeah.
then damn right you got confidence because you have confidence in your ability to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, you come from the alleyway with the addicts and the homelessness and the abuse and all these things and the prison and institution and people just walking in and out of your life and just treating you bad and kicking while you're down and all that. When you come from there with that place and you have no one and you just start scraping. First, you kind of see there's light somewhere. You just start scraping and you just start scratching and you just start praying. And then you start meditating. And then maybe you move the body a little bit and you hit the yoga. And now you're reading and you're searching and you're seeking. And now you're building yourself up. You're building that confidence very slowly up. And then once you reach a place where I'm at now, and I still look at myself and say, damn, man, you got a long way to go. You got a long way to go. But I'll tell you where I'm never going to go is back down to that bottom, man.
Yeah.
And that creates a confidence within you because it allows you, it gives you knowledge of yourself that I know I could defeat anything, man. I know that I'm me, you know, and that confidence carries forth when you read things like Carl Jung. And that's what I mean why it's so beautiful when the universe connects those dots for you, man. When it connects the dots, the things that you know were so true and you felt in your heart in all these other books. And then you read another book in a different genre and it's picking up pieces of the same notes. And then I learn in concrete in my belief that the very number one best thing that I could be doing for myself, for my children, for my wife, for my family, for my community, and on and on and on and up is be the truest, rawest, most organic form of me in the uniqueness of me, what the universe gave me that they didn't give nobody else. It's not many things that we have that somebody can't do better, somebody can't do faster, somebody can't do more efficient. But that uniqueness, that's ours.
Yeah.
That's ours. So I can pick and choose from anything that I want because I'm me. And the way for me to live the most happiest, most vibrant, most peaceful, loving, joyous, compassionate life is to be me. And in that way, with that confidence that from coming from nothing to something, and then learning myself through all this self-discovery, it concretes the fact that I know I have to be only me. So if I'm picking and choosing from truths that seem totally outlandish to the world, and I will say 95% of the truths that I hold dear in my heart would make me look like a lunatic to most people. My wife is very aware of it and she loves it, but not many other people do. But that confidence and that prayer and that yoga and that meditation is what has me stand on my own 2 feet the way that I feel. And that's it. There ain't a million people standing on the other side of the fence. If that's the way I feel truly in my heart and my soul, I'm gonna stand on that, baby. I'm gonna stand on it to the end of time.
That's 2 things you planted a seed in my mind back in the day when we did the interview. One was you said, you know, I was talking about identity and trying on different identities, and you were like, you know, you were basically like, hey, you know, you choose who you are and you do it. You don't have to pit on anything else. You just throw that crap. You said, get rid of that crap, and I thought that was interesting too. And then meditation and yoga too, which you're both helping me right now. I really dig meditation because I'm always in my head. I'm always obsessive thoughts, turning everything apart, going down roads with ideas that don't need to go down there. Meditation is the only thing that's ever given me this break from that. Where my mind, I can just be in the moment, that's been great. And the yoga is great. It's very helpful. It's, I did some morning yoga and it said, I was doing it said, relaxing, gentle morning yoga, but it hurt. I said, this is very gentle, but man, you feel so good afterwards. But, I was thinking a lot about, every time I speak or, when I used to do the sermons or talks or teach the class or whatever, I always figure, like, what exactly do I want to say? What is one thing I definitely want to get through? And, one thing is I kind of touched on already was if anyone's listening and, they feel like everybody has the truth, everybody knows something, everybody's sure of things. And they're the only one that's in chaos. They're the only one with the doubts. They're the only one that's full of anxiety and not sure what to do. That's a bunch of bullshit. I don't know. So you're not the only person. We're all searching. None of us are 100% on anything. We all have fears and doubts and failings, but we're all, hopefully the only thing we all can do is strive forward to try to get a little bit more knowledge, to apply it a little bit more to our lives. And so you're not alone. You're not the only person. We don't all have it figured out. We're there with you. And then secondly, I wanted to say to people that, are struggling to, you said it, they're struggling to try to find a truth or be happy. And I wrote something about this the other day. To be done with that. Find the truths that work for you at that moment that don't hurt someone else, but move your life forward. You don't have to know. You don't have to discover the hidden truth of all truths. You just got to discover something that works for your life and moves you forward. And also, if you don't feel happy, there's not something wrong with you necessarily. You're not so strange. You're not lacking something. Happiness is it's just such a weird term, and it encompasses so many things. What the hell does it even mean? I get sick of happy. I'm happy. Maybe focus on smaller emotions, smaller goals, smaller things, the kind of person you want to be. And then, that feeling of happiness might come around some more. I don't know, in that respect. But like you said, I'm starting to learn, because I'm not a regular dude. Nine people out of 10 are not as interested in the things that I am. Maybe they don't think the same way I do. I'm not saying better or worse, but just different. So I find there's not that many people. Like I find someone like you, and I really appreciate it because we can connect on a level that I can't find a lot of people to connect with like that. And, for years growing up and who I was, I always felt very isolated and very different from everyone. And I felt like always, terms I'd use in my head, and I'm a freak, something's wrong with me, all these different things. But I'm starting to realize that it's okay to be different. It's okay to like what I like. It doesn't have to be like everybody else's. It's okay to have the interests I like and pursue the things that I like to pursue. It's all right. It's okay. They can be themselves. I can be myself. And I don't know, whatever is in me that's building that confidence. I'm really grateful for it that I can, because instead of thinking of myself as a freak, I can think of myself as unique. I'm unique. This is uniquely me, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm okay. Just because I don't like what everybody else likes, well, who cares?
Man, I love that for you, Tony. I love that you're coming into that space, man, where you're figuring that out, and speaking of figuring things out, we don't all have it figured out, man. And that's something that I'm so grateful for you for saying and sharing with those people out there listening, because they're listening. Yeah. We're going to put this on a podcast. We're going to put it on YouTube. We're going to put it on the social media outlets, because those are the messages that need to be carried to the people. It's like, how many people are sitting in their house, on the couch right now, feeling the way that you were just speaking about, calling themselves all sort of names within their mind and feeling weird and not, isolated and alienated from everyone because they feel differently, or maybe they don't. But here's the thing: as we connect with our fellow humans, man, and you speak to people like myself, and speak to people like Tony on Creating Greatness podcast and the Examine Life podcast, you're gonna find that there are those out there that can relate to you. You're not alone, and don't ever feel that way. Someone has went through exactly what you're going through or something very similar, and you don't have to do it their way. You don't have to follow their course of action, but we can listen in on these people. And just like I spoke about earlier, take bits and pieces and integrate it into your life of what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you laid it down, Tony. I thought you wasn't going to be a good guest. You came and laid that truth, man. I appreciate you.
Bad that I shaved my beard off a little while ago. My wife's a traveling nurse, and so I would take care of her in the house and do that kind of stuff, cook the meals and all that. And so I had my nice big beard. I had a beard just like, oh, I loved it. But then I got a job as I don't know, she was going to take a local job. So I got a job at a pizza place, and I was like, I don't want to have one of those beard holder things. I worked at a pizza place for years. So I shaved it all off, and now it's just growing back. But you're making me jealous of the beard right there, man.
Hey, man, you know what's funny is my wife is a travel nurse too, brother.
Is she really? I didn't know that.
That's why we're in Phoenix right now. She's taking a contract, and then we're going to Tucson next. I stay at home with my kids. I homeschool my son. I do my podcast. I speak on the Wisdom app, and that's what I do. But yeah, we don't all have it figured out, and don't ever feel that way, man. But listen in, and we're gonna keep telling you ways, tips, and tricks, tools, and techniques on how to level up your life, how to improve the quality of your life, how to get out of your head a little more often, man, because we all been there. We all have them days, man. Me speaking all this inspirational stuff, it's days where I can't pick up the microphone because I'm having a day where I'm not sure if I'm good enough, or I'm not sure if what I'm saying is strong enough or important enough, or not enough people are listening. So just pick up your spirit guides wherever you may and follow forward in your truth, man. I want to talk about one last thing, Tony. This is something new, man. You're the first person I'm doing with this with.
Oh, nice.
And what this is a celebration of the present moment and celebration of the evolution of humans. As we were just talking about, the truth that we held on to yesterday may not be the truth that we hold on today. So in that spirit, list me a book, a show or movie, and a song or album. 3 things that is your favorite right now in this present moment of your life. Not what you liked as a kid or what you might think. What is your favorite song right now? What are you reading right now? And what is your favorite television program or movie right now?
All right. I was listening to, I'm just almost done with Alan Watts, The Way of Zen. And I'm really digging Zen, man. I'm really digging the way he perceives life and the truth he's spitting. I really like it. Really good. The music, what's funny is I grew up as a real heavy metal dude, but when I became super religious in my mid-20s, I got rid of I had thousands of books. I got rid of all my books. I got rid of all my movies. I mean, I became a fundamental crazy person for a few years. And so I didn't listen to a lot of bands in the 2000s, but I've been listening to Zakk Wylde's Black Label Society. I don't know if you ever listened to any of his music, but man, I'm really digging. It's old. It's not new to anybody. To me, though, I've really been digging that a lot. And movies. Right now, we're watching a series called Peripheral on Prime. It's about it's pretty trippy. It's by the creators of Westworld. Do you ever see that? Westworld?
I've caught a little bit of Westworld, but I've seen Peripheral on Prime. I haven't checked it out yet. Maybe I will on your recommendation.
It's pretty good, man. It's got some cool concepts in it. It's pretty neat. They do a good job.
All right, cool, man. I'm gonna check that out, and I'm gonna do it real quick. Y'all know the book I'm reading right now, 12 Rules of Life, Jordan Peterson,
awesome.
The Antidote to Chaos. I'm 1 chapter in, and let me tell you what he's talking about. holding your posture up high, your head up high, stand strong. And he goes into epic detail on why we should be doing that. I'm gonna let you check it out for yourself. But I love that book. I'm about 2 chapters in and I like it a lot. Yep. My favorite song right now, man, is a country song, man. I am huge, like, I still listen to gangster rap because I'm working out to it. I still like rock and roll and jazz and R&B and rhythm and blues and all these things. But right now, my favorite song that I listen to on YouTube all the time is "A Rock in a Hard Place" by Bailey Zimmerman. He's a country artist, and it's good, man. And TV, I'll say a couple. I'm a cheat. It's my show. I can do what I want. Right, Creating Greatness podcast. My favorite TV show lately. I don't watch a lot of TV, but here at this season that just happened, they came out with like 2 or 3 shows that I really enjoyed, and one that I really hated. So I'll say that first. How the new Game of Thrones was awful.
Terrible.
Just awful.
Really disappointing.
It was just awful. And the show that eclipsed that show in the fantasy genre and just really took things to a new level was The Rings of Power on Prime. Oh my goodness, dude. Well, it depends on if you're into that kind of thing. I am an old fantasy geek.
Are you?
When I was in prison, all I read was Forgotten Realms, Wizards of the Coast,
Raymond Price, David Eddings, Tracy Dragonlance.
Tracy Hicks, I read all of them. I read all the Dragonlance.
Dark Elf series, Drizzt Do'Urden.
I read all the Dark Elf series. We're going to talk about that on another show, Tony. I'm going to have you back, man. Right. I'm going to have you back, and we're going to get into
science fiction Dungeon Dragons freak, man.
Yo, yes, we're going to get back on and talk about that. But yeah, the book, 12 Rules of Life, the show or movie, Rings of Power is great. See on Apple TV was phenomenal. If you're, it's called See, SEE. On Apple TV, starring Aquaman, Jason Momoa. And it's about a dystopian world where I guess nuclear bombs went off at some point in time and turned everybody blind, the people that survived because of the flashes. So they live in a world where no one has seen in, hundreds of years. And then all of a sudden people begin being born that could see. And then there's all sorts of power struggles because obviously the blind people that run the world are like, hunting these people that can see like witches, and it just gets all sort of crazy. And Momoa, all kinds of violent, and I kind of like that. But another show on Apple TV, and I'll say this, and then we're gonna get out of here. It's called Blackbird, and it's nuts, dude. It is about this. It's a true story, and these are the ones that I find the most interesting. And I'm gonna shut it down because now I'm going on more true stories. Father Stu was another true story that was great, dude.
That was good.
But in Blackbird, there is a small time crook, like drug dealer guy, who is very likable, very charismatic, sort of like myself, And they send him into a prison for the criminally insane. He's in a regular jail. He's just a regular run-of-the-mill guy, drug dealer, got some guns, and they send him into a jail with the criminally insane. So now this guy's in a totally different world to try to solicit a confession from this killer because he's about to get out of prison if they can't find where the victims are. So it just sets off. The guy moves in there and he tries to befriend the guy, and the guy's just sick and twisted. And it gets really creepy, but that's the shows my wife makes me watch.
Heck yeah! We watched The Patient too. That was really good. I don't know if you've seen that, but I won't go into it. But they had Steve Carell. He was a psychiatrist, and he gets kidnapped by a serial killer that's his patient, and he puts him in his basement. And he's trying to do therapy with him while he's got him trapped in his basement. It's only 10 episodes. Awesome, man! It was really good.
Oh, I'm going to check it out. And you know what else I'm going to do, Tony? Because I just started this new thing, and I'm going to drop it right here before we hang up, I just added a subscribe button to my podcast page. It's only 99 cents a month, but I'm going to offer 2 or 3 exclusive podcasts a month for that 99 cents, maybe some other content. But that's what we're going to do if you're up for it. Me and you going to talk Dungeons & Dragons, TV, books, and all the above, and I'm going to just give it to my subscribers. What do you think about that, Tom?
Awesome, man. I'd love it.
All right, cool, man.
I'm for almost 40 years, so I'm ready.
Thank you, my friend. Hey, I'm gonna be in touch about that exclusive content. And
Sounds
thanks so
great.
much for coming on, man. I appreciate you, brother. For real.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Thanks
See
for
you.
listening to Creating Greatness Podcast.
Bye, everyone.
Peace. I love y'all.